Your neighbor tells you about the unstable man in the cul-de-sac who claims to have been abducted by aliens. And then there's the woman in town who claims to see Bigfoot all the time. Your boss, who you greatly admire, confides in you that he has started speaking with his wife daily when he gets home from work. She died 8 years ago. It's hard to believe this stuff, and you write these stories off as overactive imaginations. Are these people seeking attention, or are they a bit unstable? No matter what you think, if you're like me, you walk away wondering, what if that was true? The What If It's True podcast features stories by ordinary people like you and me. Something has happened to them, something so strange they are in agony unless they tell others. My name is Cameron Buckner, and the What If It's True podcast is available at whatifitstruepodcast.com and on all available podcast apps.
Welcome to Beast TV. What was that? You better get a fresh dip and buckle up. Larry Porst II, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Real good. How about you?
I'm doing all right. It's storming outside. Hopefully we won't get kicked off here.
Maybe not. We are on that generic brand internet, ain't we?
Out of Jonesboro, Arkansas. If that makes you feel any better.
It does, man. As long as it ain't out of Dallas, Texas, we're good.
We want to welcome everyone to the podcast tonight. It's going to be a great show. It's always good when we have friends on here, and it's and this is someone that we have learned a lot from, is from Eric and his partner Kane, and it's just a pleasure to have him back on here. So we know there's going to be a lot of questions we're going to ask that you kind of hold off towards the end to ask questions. And we're so thankful for everyone that's in our live chat. We already have over 100 people in our chat.
Wow.
So that's fantastic. And even though I kind of introduced him a little bit, Larry, why don't you go ahead and welcome our guest to the show?
Well, this is part of our dynamic duo that if they call you and tell you that they want you to come to a spot and you're going to get some activity, you can almost bet the house on it because you're going to have activity. So our good friend Slade Monk says when you go in the woods with him, you better put your head on a swivel because something's going down. But our guest tonight is Mathias Tipton. Welcome to the show, Mathias. I got to get used to saying that.
That's not your Hollywood name, is it?
That's it, man. That's one the nun in the hospital stamped on my butt. So yeah, that was it. My mom actually, it was actually supposed to be Mathis. And the nun actually changed it on my birth certificate. And she said, no, it's going to be biblical, which Mathis is. But she was like, it's going to be biblical. It's Matthias. And the nun actually changed my name.
Wow.
My mom had no say in it whatsoever.
You can't take them nuns anywhere.
So, but I figure we might as well just go ahead and kick this thing off and have some fun. So let's go ahead and in true Matthias Kane fashion, we'll get started here. So cheers.
Before we get into what you have been doing lately, why don't you tell our audience about your encounter?
Okay. So this was at Salt Fork here in Ohio a few years back. Kane and I had spent a really, really long time in this area. And this particular day, though, and when I say long time, I'm talking years. And but this particular day, usually we pull in. We're just he and I, and we go in, we do our thing, we come back out. Well, this particular weekend, we had my wife and his girlfriend at the time, and we were all camping at the campgrounds. So they actually dropped us off on this back dirt road a little ways from where we normally park and go in. And so they drop us off and we go in, and we had a couple things we wanted to try. So we were introducing these things to the area, knowing where we were at in the area and knowing where they were in the area. We tried a couple things and we immediately got some responses back. Kind of set me back a little bit because you guys know Kane and he does really crazy things sometimes. So what I had was I had my CAN speaker, my Bluetooth speaker, and I had silverback gorilla. I had a mating call, and I had an anger call, basically a challenge call. And I decided to do the challenge call first. And so I cut loose with this thing. Now we're and you guys actually have been to this area, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. So we were in some very thick vegetation, and I cut loose with this sound. And unknown to me, Kane is standing like right behind me. I don't know, but he's got his shirt pulled up, and he does this chest smack. And I'll tell you, man, it sounded just like a freaking gorilla, just scared the crap out of me. Well, literally like 5 seconds later, the ridge across from us, we get this pop, pop, snap, and then dead silence. And then we see this 3 foot long by probably 8-inch round log come flying through these trees, breaking branches and hit the ground, rolling down the ridge in front of us. So we're like, oh God, what did we just do? So we go out, we go through our processes, and the whole time we're not left. 2 of them, a third one possibly we believe was there. But we know for a fact 2, and they stayed with us the whole time. And but on our way out, we knew we were being paralleled from the ridge where the log came from. Well, normally we come out, we drop down, we hit the road, we jump in the truck, and we're gone. This day, we hit the road and we walked the dirt road up to a bridge. And this channel that this bridge goes over, this channel winds through really thick wetland marsh area. And So we're hanging out, got all of our gear stripped off, and Kane's sitting on the guardrail facing me, and I'm standing up and I'm facing the marsh talking, and we're just, bull crapping or whatever. And halfway through a conversation, I just kind of glance out into the marsh, and I see this big limb of this tree. I see the tree out there, and this big limb goes straight up in the air. And he comes out from underneath it and stands up. And when he stands up, I'm froze. I'm just staring at it. And he sees me, and he just comes straight up. And I'll tell you, bud, yeah, he gave me everything. I mean, everything that he had, he gave it to me. He flared back, came back, puffed out. His head went back. His eyes went wide. And both of us just stared at each other. And he turned, his body turned, and he stepped. And as he was stepping, he turned to look where he was going, and he dropped down into the channel is what he had done. And as soon as he disappeared, I bolted. I just took off down the road. I wanted to try to get another vantage point of him. And poor Kane's still talking. He's still like conversating. He has no clue. I'm in awe. I'm froze. And this thing disappears, and all of a sudden I take off down the road, and I can hear Kane behind me, and he's trying to grab gear, and he doesn't know all he knows is we're running. That's all he knows is we're running. So, and I can hear him grabbing gear behind him, and so I get down a little hill on the gravel road, and I dip into the marsh. And when I stepped into the marsh, I'm 6'1", and when I stepped into the marsh was up to here on me, and what I saw of him was actually from the waist up. So, and Kane actually has all of this on video. From the point to where I stopped running, he has all of this on video. My initial reaction to everything we have on video. And so, my head's just going 1,000 miles an hour. And Kane kind of, calms me down, and we get back up to the bridge, and we're talking. He said, I got to go out there. We got to let's pull out the rangefinder. You stay here. Let me go out there. We'll get a distance, this and that, da. So he goes out. I can't even see him at all. And he's waving his hand. He's hollering. He's shaking the branch of the tree, and I can see the branch moving, but I can't see him at all. So finally he picks up a stick, and I've got my rangefinder, and I'm like higher, and all of a sudden he drops the stick, and he just yells, and he's like, you got to get out here. And so I make my way out there, and where he had turned and took his first step, he stepped into the mud before he hit the water, and that's his print right there behind me. So, yeah, 18.5 inches long, and I believe nine and a half wide. So, and he isn't the big one out there. I believe, and Kane believes, what we caught the night you guys came up and we stayed the weekend out there, the one audio of the long, deep howl we got, we believe that that's the alpha. We've only found one impression of his, and it was 22.5 by, if I'm not mistaken, 22.5 by 11.5 wide. So yeah. So that guy back there on the wall, that print. And so I'm doing the whole, so I had a professional sketch artist sketch, what I'd seen. And that's really, really, really close to extreme detail of what I saw, plus the print. And like I said, he's not the big boy. And so we averaged him to be around 9.5, almost 10 foot tall from the rangefinder. Kane did the math on it with the weight of him, the impression in the mud, the print in the mud, the depth of the mud. We put him around 450, 500 pounds. So, yeah, big guy.
You know, a lot of us try to prepare ourselves for an up close sighting, but you can only do so much. And that was something that really weighed heavy on you after that sighting.
It really did. I mean, we're out here and we're trying to find answers, and we're looking for, this creature. And it really did. It was it put me in a different state of mind for a while. I did go through a slight depression, and it was all because I knew what it was. Because we know what we're out there looking for, but it was seeing it. It was actually seeing it. Here it is, and your brain. I can't speak. Everybody does this. I went through a meltdown process. My brain went through a meltdown process. And the only way I can explain it is at a young age, you're taught to identify at such a young age. And that's how you learn, growing up. So you're taught. That's a car, that's a plane, that's a tree, that's a da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So when you see this, or when I saw this, my brain went through a meltdown process, and it was trying to figure out, what am I looking at? It's not bear, it's not this, it's not that. And you quickly rule out, all the knowns, and then you're left with this. It's here. It's real. It's physical. It's flesh. It's blood, and it's real. And so my thing though was, even though it didn't show aggression at all, it literally it had an oh crap look to its face. It really did. When we locked eyes, he had that look like he just screwed up. Is exactly what he looked like. But it was the size of him. It was the mass of him. It was knowing the situations that Kane and I have been in many, many times, extremely close, and now seeing it and seeing how big this thing is. And at any time of those moments, it could have ended for us. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I mean, if they wanted you, and they wanted, and they had that aggression to them, it would have you. Bottom line, So it was all of that, and the size of it that was in my head, and I'm an avid hunter, and I didn't go out hunting for a long time. And then when I did start going back out hunting, I would literally get to my hunting spot the same time I normally would anytime, but I would not get out of my truck and go to my deer blind until I could see silhouette. Usually I'm traipsing through it in the dark, to my deer blind. And now, even now, I will not get out of my truck until I can start seeing silhouette of trees and stuff before I hike in. That's what it did to me. Now I still go out. We still push the limits. We still get in those situations, but it's different now. It's different for me now. I'm actually now, years later, after the sighting, I'm very much at ease with it. And I'm very comfortable in those settings now, where normally it used to be every little sound was, you were on pins and needles and And now I'm very calmed. I'm very relaxed, when things happen now, so it changed me. It really did. It changed me. But I honestly believe it changed me for the better.
You said something to me, I don't know, 3 years ago or so, and I don't even know if you were talking to me, but it's something that's been imprinted deep inside me since you said this, that when you go out into the woods the way that we do, you need to be honest with yourself and say, I may not make it back.
Yeah.
I may not make it back.
A lot of people, and I give credit to everybody that goes out and enjoys nature, loves to be in the woods, and is looking for this and believes in this creature and is looking for things. And I give credit to everybody that does it. You have to understand at the end of the day, with what I saw and knowing for a fact that these things are real, you have to understand it's a creature. It's an animal and it's wild. And when you go out, like we go out to very remote areas, you do. I've said it 100 times. You have to have that mindset. You have to be able to go there in your head and understand that, if something happens, man, if something bad happens, you're most likely you're not coming out. And it's not a deter thing for people. You just have to understand what you're really looking for. You really do. You have to understand it. So, yeah.
And a lot of people don't. A lot of people have this attitude that they're the king of the wilderness, of the woods. And that day you come face to face with the king of the woods. And he may not be the absolute king, but he's a whole lot higher on the hierarchy than we are.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's many other things that can take us down as humans out in the woods, So, but he and she are up there, and actually, to be completely honest with you too, up to that point of having my sighting, I honestly believe that they were just a big ape. That was my mindset. They're just a big ape. And when I saw it and I saw the characteristics in the face, in the facial features, man, I'll tell you now, somewhere along the line, we, our gene pools, we hit each other because he had a lot of human characteristic in the face. So, and that changed me on that aspect of things too.
Well, that was a beautiful area that you took Larry and I to. You and Kane. Cheryl.
Active area.
Yeah. I mean, from the time that we stepped off, just about the time that we stepped off the road and started climbing that ridge.
Yeah.
And it was it was a wild adventure. And maybe before we start getting into this new area that you want to talk about, maybe that's pretty serious stuff what we're talking about. And it's very important that you do not let your imagination run away from you, and to be able to, the best you can, to control that fear factor. But it took us a while to hike in that area. And then I remember when we got there and we started setting up the hammocks and the tents.
Don't do it.
I looked around and
And
Justin is taking off his shirt. And then all of a sudden I turn back around and Kane has taken off his shirt. And then we look up and Cheryl has taken off his shirt. And Larry and we're able to communicate by just looking at each other's eyes. And I remember looking at Larry and he's looking at me. And then we both looked at Eric. And Larry, you want to finish that story?
I forget exactly what I said, but I said something like, I'm not taking off my shirt or whatever. And Eric said, I ain't either. I can't remember the exact conversation, but I was getting worried. And Eric said, don't worry. That's as far as it's going right there.
It was something like if...
Wait a second, Matthias. My bad.
It was something like if Matthias takes off his shirt, Mark, me and you are leaving.
Yeah, that's what it was.
by this time, Justin was already barefooted, and I thought, what else is going to come off?
So was Kane. Kane went barefooted.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Looks like Matthias might be having some internet problems. He went off with us before we came on the air.
He'll be back in there.
Yeah, he'll be back in here.
Don't worry, y'all ain't stuck with us.
Larry, can you think of any other stories with Matthias that whether they're funny or anything that happened?
Man, we've been through a bunch. I can remember that day me and him were up on that ridge in eastern Kentucky, and he'd been trekking something, and I was just following and videoing because I just stay out of the way. Because him and Kane, once they get on a trackway, they're like bloodhounds, so you might as well just stay back and not interrupt them. And he'd went up on the crest of a ridge, and I heard it plain as day, rock clacks. And he pointed right down there, and I had that camera looking, and we heard something move off, but I never saw anything, and I don't believe Matthias did either, but we heard it for sure.
Yeah. No, it's I get really excited when I know for a fact that I'm on a trackway. I get excited. That adrenaline starts pumping, man. And especially if I can determine time. If I know I'm 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour behind him or her, I get excited because I can catch that time up. That's not saying I'm going to catch up to it, or I'm going to be able to get up close enough for a visual, but I can gain that ground. And that was that moment. I knew when I saw the two rocks flipped, and the moss was still wet though. The sun didn't have time to bake on the moss or anything that was growing on the top of the rock, which was now flipped upside down. When I turned it over, it was still soaking wet. So I knew that we were just minutes, away from this thing, which minutes out there, can be for them, what I estimate could be, 200, 300, 400 yards at that point away from you. Yeah. And still moving. Luckily enough, it crested that ridge, dropped down into that laurel and thickets and hung out. It gave us time to get up around on top of the ridge and then hear the clacking. And I always wonder about that too. Like why, because it knew we were there. It knew it because it was moving. So it knew we were there. So why the clacking? You know, why really give up your position? You know, so I always thought about that. Like, you know, was there something else around? You know, and it making that noise was a deterrent. You know,
Right.
so yeah, but that was exciting. That was
Oh,
really
yeah.
exciting. So
I agree.
Okay, we're going to start with these video clips, and we will just let you kind of narrate them.
okay, so this area right here, this is the new area, and we're roughly about 5 weeks in now. About 5 weeks into it now. This was our last trip, and we had already started finding certain things. And I started. Kane asked me. He said, you know, what do you think? What's going through your head right now? And we'll do this periodically. We'll just kind of brainstorm with each other. And he asked me. He said, you know, what's going through your head right now? And at that time, I started looking at the entrance of where I believe they were coming through, and then looking around where we were at, and looking around the area where we were at, and trying to figure out, you know, which direction they would go. We knew that they wouldn't go where we were standing. They wouldn't go behind us because it was a sheer cliff. It was a straight drop off, which reminded me a lot of Salt Fork in that area that we went to. So then we started really looking at, okay, so where would they go? If that's the entrance up on top of the ridge in front of us and they're coming towards us, where do they veer? Which direction are they going to go? So that's kind of what we were determining at that point, was trying to figure out, you know, a base for some sort of travel pattern for them. In this particular video here. Now, that video there, that's at the very beginning. That was like the second week in. We had traipsed around. We'd found like a couple impressions. It took me a little while because there's bear in this area. And I was coming across a lot of scat, and I was coming across a lot of bear print. And once I saw the impression, though, that I did see, it took me a minute to rule out bear on it. You really have to. That's another thing, you know. You really have to dive into prints to understand what you're looking at, bear versus, you know, a human impression or any bipedal. But once I realized that this wasn't a double step bear print, that this was some sort of bipedal, I started kind of following where I believed it was traveling, and which led us to this. This was 2 breaks. The first one that we came up to, it was about 3 inches in diameter. And nothing had dropped down on it to cause it to break. No real wind damage anywhere in this area at all, for nature, for Mother Nature. And then the second one was probably about 35, 45 feet behind it. Same type of tree, same thing. Both of them very much alive. Still full of leaves, green leaves, very much alive. And then just down from the second one, roughly about, I don't know, maybe 50 yards, we find an X. Now, down 50 yards where we find the X is from 2 small ash trees, and it's wedged inside a pine tree, these two branches. So from there we knew okay, this is where now, once you get this, then this is base for us. This is the beginning. So from here, we have to comb this whole area in a radius, and we'll go out, Jesus, 25, 50, 100 yards out, and sometimes even more, and just do a complete circle, and we'll start growing that circle, and we'll just keep looping and looping out farther and farther and farther, which eventually led us to something else, and then being able to identify markers that they do leave. We were able to start drop pinning these structures and forming a line with them. And so that's kind of where we're at with it right now. So that was really cool. That was, like I said, I believe that was our second weekend where we found the 2 breaks in the X. Was like our second weekend of really just dogging, bird dogging, the whole time. So, and then once we found that, and we ran it through the gambit, and that, I want to stress that too, with Kane and I, and we're there to rule out the possibility of Bigfoot. First and foremost, we are our biggest skeptics. We go in to disprove right off the rip. That's Kane and I have always done that. We are there to disprove. And then once we start dropping things off, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this. And then it leaves you with what else can it be? That's when we really start research. That's when we start, trying to figure out a destination point, a travel point, and pushing out farther. But that's the first thing we do when we go in. Anywhere we go in to disprove. It's just how we operate. So,
okay. And this next clip, tell us a little bit.
Here, this right here, I just kind of wanted to give an idea of the terrain that we're in, where we're going to be researching. How far away are we from human activity, living, town, hiking trails, anything. And this here, we were in so far. And here we actually got lost for about 2.5 hours. But this also gave us a break. Very loud break. It gave us a little bit of chatter at one point. So that's once we got the first initial structures, what we believe to be structures, and then pushing in a week later into this. And getting the break and getting a little bit of chatter, then we knew we were on the right pathway of getting in deep enough for them. So I'm very excited. I've got a fire built up in me now again, because it's been a minute, it's been a minute for Kane and I, and we spent a lot of time. We spend a lot of, if it makes sense, we spend a lot of time off time. We've spent a lot of time just with ourselves, and kind of just reeling back in and taking time and clearing our minds and just getting away from everything and kind of rejuvenating and really trying to pick an area that we really wanted to get to, and this is where we ended up. So this here, after we got the break in the little bit of chatter, is when I started filming, and I just wanted to give a look of, you know, what we're looking at in terrain wise, and what we're going to be getting ourselves into, because we will be going out here and we will be doing, you know, day hike in and nights and setting up. And so we really want to look at the terrain and see what we're going to need gear wise, you know, how we're going to pack basically to get back into this area.
Well, I know you said you're rejuvenating. I totally understand that. I still ain't got rejuvenated, but COVID threw so much off besides just regular life, you know.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's been a weird year, basically.
Yeah.
I know I've only been out, twice, and that was more of a group than it was any individual or small group thing.
Right,
so
right.
I totally understand what you mean on that. But one thing I say about Mathias and Kane, they have a vast catalog of structure, sign that they look for. Some of them are just like a light bulb go off. Mathias and Kane don't really talk while they're out tracking. They'll look at each other and know what they're looking at and what they're thinking. And half of it, I don't know. I look and I'm like, what the crap y'all saying? And they're like, we're on something or whatever. Come on. And I got to say, every time I followed either one of them through the woods when they sit there on something, we had some type of activity happen. Wood knocks, rock clacks, stuff thrown at us, or we walk up and like at Bankhead into the mother lode of asterisks and bows and all that. So for anybody to think that they're guessing at stuff, they're not guessing at stuff. They know what they're looking for, and they have signature signs that they see that the light bulb comes on, and they're like, yep, and then they're bird dogging it.
Yeah. And this one here, this X here, if you can see the top of the right one, that's actually the roots. That's a tree. That's not a branch. That's an actual tree that's been pulled up and flipped upside down. This one here gave us what we needed to move forward. When you look around, I will say this: when you find something like this, look around. You'll notice I didn't walk up on this. A lot of times when Kane and I see something like this, a lot of people, their first instinct, their first thing is run right up on it.
Yeah.
We don't run right up on it. We stay away from it. We believe that this thing is being used. It's being used now in real time. It wasn't put up, you know, a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever. This is being used right now. So we stay away from it. We don't want to taint the area around it whatsoever. But we circle it and we go around it and we try to find those little things that Larry was talking about. Those little things will give you an idea of where to go next. And just clear your minds. Just stop thinking, stop overthinking things out there, and just start looking at nature and looking at things, and things will start popping in your head, and you'll go, oh, wow, okay, that right there, it looks just like a branch just laying, and it's not. It's not just a branch laying. It was put there. You got to look at things around the big thing. The big thing isn't what you're supposed to be looking at. Excuse me. It's the things around it. Once again, though, do your due diligence. Do your research on it. Make sure it's not Mother Nature caused it. It's not wherever you're at, human manipulation that caused it. Run it through the gambits first. Do the research first. This is what really put us on track to start pushing in even farther. And once we found this one here, we was like, okay, because up to this point we were like, we need more. We need something, man. We need more. This, the 2 breaks and the 1X in the pine was great. Okay, that's great, but we need a lot more, man, before we can even think about spending time in this area. And once we found this and dug into this, we it set us on the right path.
Now, Tom Paul asked a good question, and a lot of these questions are opinions and theories that we all have as we start seeing things and our knowledge grows and we get more dirt time. But do you what do you think that these structures mean?
They're navigational. That's what Kane and I have determined over 3 years now, and putting certain things to a test to see if it's navigational, and it is. We have too much documented proof of certain structures, not all structures, certain structures being navigational. Not all structures will give you this. Certain structures will give you a waypoint. And other structures, I personally, in that's the thing about Kane and I as well. He creates his theories, and he's got his, as Mark says very well, he's got his box, that he puts things in. I'm out there, I'm looking at things, I've got my box that I put my theories in, so that's what we do is, and after 3 years of really digging into just structures, they got to mean something. They can't just mean, oh, this is, we're over here and you're over here, and that's that. No, we didn't buy that. We weren't buying that at all, and we started digging into this and Kane has spoken about this in the past. It was actually, he was the one that came across it. It was like a light bulb went off in his head.
Yeah.
And he called me and he was like, hey, I got this theory. I've been pondering. We got to put it to the test. So we got together, we started going out, we started putting things to test, and this over here was a waypoint. This one over here didn't mean jack crap, so the ones that don't mean anything, we're still kind of trying to figure out what exactly they're there for. They're built for something. They're created for something, So right now, though, we're more concentrating on what we have, and we have this documented so much in different areas, not just one area. So we take this and we go to multiple areas and put it to the test. And when you start getting the same data coming back each time in different locations, man, and it starts lining up with each other, it's,
I think about what Kane said a couple of weeks ago, that he was talking with Shane Corson. So y'all are basically on the East Coast and Shane's on the West Coast. And seeing the same things. And that's, I think that's why it's important that we create these relationships where we can share what we're finding. And our friend Seven Pearls, let's see, is that pulling up right?
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't tell. Ask a good question. What is your main goal? Since now you have seen one eye to eye. What's your goal in keeping to go out into the woods?
That's a great question. And me personally, I am not a drop one and drag the body out to prove it. I'm not that person. I have studied and stalked Jane Goodall for a very long time. She is ranked very high on my idol list. I firmly believe with what I do that I can get in front of them and I can document them coming into an area to where I can study them with film and watch how they interact, watch what they do, and just observe them, improve that they are obviously real. But I don't believe in we have to drag a body out.
Yeah.
To and lay it on a slab. I believe that there's another way of doing it and to prove to the science to the scientific world that they're real, they exist, here they are. And so that's my goal. My goal is to be able to be put in a situation to where I can actually film them for a long period of time and study them. Not just a hit and miss. Oh, here's one walking through the woods. Boom, that's it. No, I'm talking being able to get into their area where they nest and being able to document them. And I know I can do this because of my background in this, and it can be done. And I'm at a point now where I know how much time it takes to get, answers, and I'm not in a rush. I'm not in a hurry, So, and that's what this area is for Kane and I. This is our area to just take our time, try to do everything right that we have learned through the years and put it all together and just take our time and get to that point, get to that spot where we know we can do this, and so that is my ultimate goal. I firmly believe somewhere out there in this area is a nesting site. I honestly believe that somewhere, and this is a vast area. This is a lot of acreage, and it's going to take time to do it. But I firmly believe with the terrain that we are in, I believe that there is a nesting site somewhere out there.
We know that if you make one mistake, then it's all over with. You will lose them, and they will change what they're doing. And so that's what you want to be careful of, and it's wise to be cautious in these areas and don't push them out of the area. We're getting some questions, and I know the answer to this, but do you use a GPS to mark structures, evidence, etc.?
Yes, we do. We most certainly do. That is one way of that is part of research. We most definitely mark everything. And to be honest with you, certain things, not everything, but certain things, even though we rule out, and it's just, you know, something else. It could have been Mother Nature, but it's very unique in the way that it happened. We'll pin it, but most definitely we GPS everything. That's how we get our distances from, you know, structure to structure, and you know, this area here, why is this structure over here and it's more grassed area, and, you know, not a lot of woody area. You know, we had found a huge TP structure in the middle of a wheat field. In the middle of a wheat field, found a TP structure in the middle of a wheat field. And when I say wheat field, it's not like a farmer was farming this field. It was like we came up out of this god awful friggin' gorge out in the middle of nowhere, and it was a plain. It was wheats, but it was just this huge field, big open field.
We lost him again. It's bad when you got. Maybe he's got some of that Jonesboro, Arkansas internet.
Gotta love
Just don't say my company. I'll get fired.
Yeah.
There he is.
The Taliban can get cell service in a cave, and we can't get internet here. I got a major storm coming through, but anyways, yeah. So we'll GPS. We GPS everything we do. We GPS the distance we've traveled. Everything that we do is documented through as much modern technology as we can use. A lot of times, you know, you can still drop pin things, you know, but you don't have no service where we're at, you know, to be able to do certain things. But yes, I hope that answers the question. That yes, we do.
We're getting a lot of questions coming in. I won't be able to keep up with them. Oh, no. Maybe you are. Can you hear us?
I don't think he can hear us.
Yeah.
He can hear us.
Yeah. I believe he's froze up.
He's moving.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you are.
Okay.
Let's see.
Everybody's freezing up on me. At least you froze up on a good pose, Larry.
Well, that's always good. Are you able to hear us now? I don't think he can hear us.
No, he's.
I can. You're breaking up though. I mean, you're froze on the video, and your audio is breaking up. So, I did a scan on my. Can you guys?
Yeah.
What's going on?
We can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. I just ran a scan. I got full service here.
It may be Mark.
Who knows?
I don't know. We hadn't froze up though. with each other anyway.
Can you hear us, Eric?
Uh-oh.
He'll be back in a second. You know, I think about the time that Mathias.
That's
Here he
better.
comes. Let's see.
There we go. There we go. We're back.
Yeah.
We're back.
Tell us about this clip here.
It's in the woods.
Ain't on there.
It's in the woods.
Do you want me to tell about it? There he is.
There's a rock. There's a tree.
Don't slurp it. Drink or Mark will start
drink
laughing.
Well, we'll just start gargling.
Right. So this area here. So once I got the break in the chatter, I just had to know. So I dropped down off the side of this, damn near killed myself. Dropped down the side of this ridge and came down into this area here. Now, what I should have done is left my camera going, but I was trying to save battery. I was able to come up on the other side, so you'll see me veer to the right. You see the boulder there on the left sticking out, protruding out, the big boulder. So I make my way around that side of that boulder, and I start going up the side of the ridge, and I see a slide in the dirt. Clear impressions, a clear impression. Two impressions. They were 6 foot apart from each other. It was bipedal. So whatever it was moving. And it was making track very quickly to get up on top of that ridge and to get away from me. So the break in the chatter came from this area somewhere around in here. And like I said, I came around that big boulder, started making my way up the side of the boulder, and there was a slide with all 5 toes dug in, and then 6 foot up was another one, like it bounced, like a step, push, push. And then we come to this. I think this is the video. So Kane and I get up on top of this ridge, and we find that.
That's pretty awesome. How deep were you in the woods?
This right here we marked at just over 2 miles. Yeah,
That's on in there.
Yeah, this was just over 2 miles. So yeah, to come up on top of that ridge and then to find that, that's pretty much what sealed the deal for Kane and I. And the last X that I told you, the root of the tree was facing up, and the waypoint was right in line with this. Now this wasn't, we dropped GPS this. Once we got back to Kane's, we started looking at things, and they were right in line with each other.
That was one of the first things that Kane taught me. You wasn't able to come to Georgia that time, but it's so important to line these signs up.
Yeah.
And move forward with it, because they just seem to be in a straight line, until they make a turn,
A turn. Yeah. Yeah. And that'll kind of throw you a little bit, but you still have your waypoint, I was fortunate enough to be able to talk to Shane a little bit when he came to Ohio for the conference. And like you were saying earlier, Mark, with, East Coast, West Coast, and the nesting that they're working on out there in the Olympics, and the nest that Kane and I had found here, the similarities of what they have out there and what we have here was unbelievable. The finding of the one we found here, the location, and the finding of what they found out there, and the locations were identical, as in terrain, where they were found, the elevations they were found. Obviously, out there, they're at a much higher elevation, but the elevations, you split that math up, and the elevations make sense. This is the highest point that they can get to in Ohio, and here's this nest. This almost the highest point. I can't say that. I don't know if it's the highest point or close to the highest point out there, but at a high elevation, they're out there as well. So it was very, very interesting, And here I'm discussing. This is where I'm telling Kane, they're not going to exit behind us. They're coming in. That's their entrance point right there, and that entrance point is actually, Kane and I figure, probably about a half a mile wide is their entrance point coming in to this area. But heading towards us where we're standing there.
And it drops off right there, don't it?
Yeah, right there is a straight, going. And that's where it reminds me a little bit of Salt Fork, because that's when Kane and I, when we go out, when we know, like, I'll just, for Salt Fork, we knew where they would be traveling through. We knew time and date of when they would be traveling through, and that's that's when we called you guys, and you guys came up. But one thing that Kane and I do is we don't allow ourselves to have an exit point. When we know we're going in and we're camping and we're staying for a period of time, we put ourselves in that situation to where you can't go anywhere. If you are going to go somewhere, you got to go through them to get out. So that's one thing that Ken and I do, and that's what we did at Salt Fork. We knew that area would be coming through. We knew we had that drop off right there behind us when you guys came with us. We knew that wasn't an exit point. You guys know the only exit point we had, and that was literally to go through them to get out. So
that's something Larry and I have practiced probably ever since me and him got together, is to put yourself in a vulnerable spot and give them the advantage, because it seems to make them more comfortable to be able to come in closer.
You're exactly right, Mark. You're exactly right. It does. It gives them the as a human, as a person, it gives them the ha ha ha. I've got the upper hand now, stupid. So they kind of and they will they'll bring themselves in on you. So one thing that Kane and I have been very fortunate, we haven't come across like a rogue, that we believe rogues to be the very aggressive ones. When you do hear the stories of aggressiveness coming, we believe that those are the males, the rogue males, that really show the aggressive side of things. So we have been very fortunate not to come across that yet, but I do welcome it as well.
Yeah.
just to be able to catch that side of how they interact, how an aggressive one does interact, and to be able to document that side of it as well. But this area, man, I'm extremely excited about. I really am.
How close is this area to where where we went to in Salt Fork?
Oh, you're about 2.5 hours away.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, years ago, I had taken a map, and this is when I really started looking at travel, like coming into Ohio, exiting Ohio. And where we're at now and Salt Fork fall right in that line. So I can actually, so you're lucky I got shorts on.
Don't you stand up, Larry.
All right, I won't.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So here being Ohio, and then you have Pennsylvania, upper state New York. I believe that their travel pattern comes from upper state New York into the top of Pennsylvania, comes down into Ohio, drops down on the eastern side of Ohio, and then loops over into the southwestern side of Ohio, where Shawnee State Forest is. And this area that falls right in line with that.
I tell you, that's a good looking hiking stick behind you.
I love that hiking stick, buddy. I love that. And that's where it stays right there, bud. It stays right there on the wall. I don't take that one out. That was made for me and was a gift. And yeah, so I proudly hang it on my wall. So
yeah, when you finish them, they're almost like too pretty to take out and start scarring them up.
Right. That's why I've got the those are my hiking sticks there. So yeah, those are the ones I beat up and trash. But yeah, so now in this area, man, we're the data that we do have so far collected, we're putting all that together. We'll get all that compiled. We'll start trying to really figure out. We'll start looking. We'll go back to the topos now. We'll start looking at the topos. We'll try to figure out, the next direction, and see where that puts us and how far in it puts us. But I'll tell I mean, it happens a lot. There's sightings at campsites. There's sightings going across roads. There's sightings when people are hiking trails and they get that glimpse or whatever. It does happen. But if you want to do the research and you want to really find out what's going on and try to get information, this is the type of areas you need to go to. And that's how far in you need to go. You need to go where they're at. And this is where they're at. I've seen video of the Olympics. I know how Shane and them guys go in. I know how deep they're in. It's rugged terrain. It's thick stuff. It's yeah. I mean, you have to, that's where you have to go. That's where you have to be to get answers. That's where you have to be.
I tell you, this place here that where the video is playing, it was a great place to go. And maybe I should just say great minds think alike, because we were looking for a place in between Georgia and Ohio where we could all meet. And looking for a base camp where we could park vehicles or whatever, or leave other people there in the base camp and then go out and primitive camp. And Matthias and myself picked the same area in between Georgia and Ohio. And I think that's why studying the topographical maps is so important. That's what I try to encourage people to do if they're interested in getting into this. There's only two ways to put yourself around them, and that is studying the topographical maps or going to where you know that they're at, where somebody calls you and says, look, I got a nuisance Bigfoot that keeps coming around. You know, can you come out? Why don't you tell us about the way that you go about and some tips about studying the topographical maps?
Oh, hell, I wing it. This looks good. We'll go here. It's really looking at it terrain. It's looking at how far can I get in, and what does the terrain look like? What does it hold? Water, vegetation, animals, everything. What's the wildlife there? What's the vegetation like? What's the water source like? What's the terrain like? What's the seasons like? Here in Ohio, we have all 4 seasons. So we get the harsh winters, we get the nasty summers, and everything in between. And we know the vegetation in the areas, we know the wildlife in the areas, we know the water source in the areas. So that has to be part of it, regardless of where you go. You have to look at these things. You have to study the elevation changes on a topo. You got to look at where the finger points are on a topo, the deep gorges are. Those are the areas that you want to find, and those are the areas that you want to hike into. You want to go where no one wants to go. You want to hike into where nobody wants to hike into at all. So that's really what I look for, and I research like history, of that area, and all the way back as far as I can go with history of native history and whatever, and sightings and reports and this and that, and some may have reports, and other places that we go to may not. That area looks really, really good on topo. Everything falls in line with the vegetation, water source, wildlife. Everything is there, put in place, and it's an area that we want to get to. So that's basically all it really is. It's pretty simple, when you come down to it. And then it's going in and just pounding the dirt, man, and putting the time in, and you'll spend a lot of time, man. God, Kane and I have so many hours of just traipsing, just pounding the dirt, man, just walking. I mean, hours of coming up with nothing, but you check it off, okay, well, on to the next one, and you go back and you start all over again with the topo maps and looking at the topos and looking at the terrain and yada, 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 and all that. It's really pretty simple. There's nothing hard about it at all. And then once you start doing this for quite some time, though, geez, Kane. Oh, that boy, I'll tell you. You got to watch him, man. You got to watch him in the woods, man. I mean, he'll walk off the side of a cliff if you let him.
It has.
It has. I'll be standing there talking, man. I'm thinking he's listening behind me, and I'll turn around and he's gone. I walk over to the side of a friggin' sheer cliff and he's hanging, you know. Little help. But once you like for he and I, once we've been doing this for a long time, you get that instinct in you of looking at an area and like, man, this would be a really, really good area to check out, you know. And it's kind of like a second nature thing to you. It starts to build in you. And then once you get in there, you just start looking for any type of sign, you know, anything that may spark or click, you know, to start really kind of, okay, let's keep going. Maybe there's something else, you know. So, and that's really all it is. It's not really deep, like, you know, top secret or anything like that, man. It's just knowing the areas and studying the areas before you go, and then go. And you may come up with nothing, or you may come up with something. This is the video that Larry was talking about with the rock clacks.
Yeah.
So you see how thick that was down in there. And I don't understand why it would have started the clacks. That just, it still today kind of throws me a little bit. It was really thick.
If I remember right, that's when everybody's electronics went dead.
Yeah.
It's right there in that area.
Yeah. I mean, brand new, fresh batteries and everything before we left camp. I mean, we loaded up with all fresh batteries, everything, and we got back into that area and everything died. Everything freaking died on us. So that's one of those head scratchers, man.
Yeah.
You just can't explain it, you know. You know, what do you do with that? So,
not much.
but yeah, exactly. So, but that's what I'm working on. That's, you know, I'm really deep into the structures right now, and you know, collecting a lot of data off the structures in multiple places, and everything coming back, you know, matching each other from different areas, and now being in this new area, and having all of this that we've collected the last 3 years, and being able to bring that with us now into a completely new area, never touched before by us, never seen before by us. And yeah, it's really exciting. It's really exciting time. So, but that's one thing you were talking about earlier though, Mark, with the you know, people that's had things happen, you know, or having these things around, and being able to call, you know, somebody or get a hold of somebody. I had actually reached out to Paulides. I emailed him about one of his 411s, and I'd asked him, I said, well, have you ever had anybody that claims they can track these things come in and look at this area? Now, I never did get a reply back from him, but that is one thing that I am completely interested in. And that's one thing that is on my bucket list, because I know for a fact I can track these animals. I can for a fact. That's been documented many times. One of my bucket list things is to be able to take one of his stories from 411 and to be able to go out there and spend, you know, and I'm talking an expedition. I'm talking spending, you know, 3-4 weeks in an area and really going through an area and looking and seeing what I come up with, you know, just to do it, just to do it, you know. So, and nobody's ever done it. Nobody's ever taken any of his stories and went out and tried to see if there's anything in this realm that could possibly be the reason why this individual may have come up missing or something happened, So that's, one of my things that I want to do.
Well, that's a great goal to have, is to be able to use the knowledge that you have gained through your dirt time and to apply it for something good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I cannot believe that we're an hour and a half deep in this, and I know I have missed a lot of questions.
Only 30.
So I thought maybe Shelley might have been sending them to me.
She's busy talking about what people had for supper.
Oh, okay.
Miss Shelley, I'll tell you what, I miss that lady. I miss Shelley. I love her to death. I adore her to death, and I miss her smile. I miss her laugh.
She just brings so much to an outing. And
we done froze up again, didn't we?
Well, we can still hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Actually, that thing that I'm blowing on the video, that was Shelley's idea. And we had 2 great gifts that was brought there. And that was, I don't know what it's called. It's like a car antenna. And you blow it directly onto the coals, and it will get wet wood.
Wet
wood fired up. And the second was when Eric brought that huge filter.
Yeah.
And that
was life-saving.
I remember at Salt Fork where we had to dig that cistern to get water.
And then y'all let me go down there by myself with them things throwing crap everywhere and hooping and hollering. Yeah, Larry, go get some water. We'll be here when you get back. I tell you, I was looking around the whole time I was dipping that jug in that water. Just expecting something to be looking at me. And I'm sure there was something looking at me, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, that never been to a place that we had that much activity that was going on around us.
Yep.
That was a good. We
may never go to another place with that much activity around us. Who knows? Why do you keep cutting Mathias off?
I think about that trip, and that trip, if I'm not having fun out in the woods, I'm going to find something else to do to have fun with. And I remember Kane pulling out that pendulum, and that thing is swinging back and forth, and he starts asking it questions. And he asked that pendulum, he said, is Eric gonna die tonight? Cheryl's eyes kept getting bigger and bigger.
Cheryl went to the tent. He was like, I'm done. I don't want to know. I'm still here, damn it. I'm still here.
Man, we've had some good times.
Yep.
Oh yeah, buddy. We need to have some more.
Yeah.
I got to get back in shape first of all.
I'll get you in shape. You just got to get out there.
Yeah. Kane that time in the Appalachians in Georgia almost killed me, but that's because we got lost. But that told me right there I need to do something.
Yeah,
and
right.
All this COVID sitting around the house watching TV didn't help nothing.
Right.
But Mark, are you going to ask any of them questions, or are you just going to
I don't.
eyeball them?
I'm not seeing any. I'm scrolling and looking.
Shelley put them in.
She did. Well, then
Yeah.
ask one.
All right, Matthias, what do you think the structures mean? That's one of them from Tom Paul Cajun.
Hell, I don't know.
That's an honest answer.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I mean, we know with the data that we've collected throughout the last 3 years that some of them are waypoints.
Okay.
Well, that's Mr. Lee 3PO's question. Basically, Matthias, have you noticed recurring patterns in the structures?
Yes, in multiple areas, from the Adirondacks all the way down to the Ozarks out to Colorado. Yes, identical, as in measurements. That's one thing about diligence in research. Measurements. Measure the sticks in the structures, circumference of them, length of them. We have found this all over the eastern part of the United States, and I have found it out in Colorado. You know, the distance from where an X hits the ground, the distance is matching, the lengths of the sticks matching. You know, yeah.
All right.
You know, Kane shared with me one time that when you come upon a structure, if this is an area that you will frequent, to count the sticks, because he has found that they may remove a stick or they may add a stick. And so
Yeah,
it's these little things like this that can help people out. And it's
just because you've seen it already, because you're in that area and you know it's there, don't ignore it. Go up to it, look at it. There may be something else. There may be something, like Mark said, there may be something gone, there may be something added. Very small, very big. Who knows? Either or. But yeah, we have found that. Like, okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You know, you'll pull up your pictures, your video from the first time you've seen it, and you'll count the sticks, and then you're looking at it right there, and there's 1, 2, maybe 3 gone. You know, or there's 1 or 2 added, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, things like that.
Okay, Mark Ledford asked, Mr. Mathias, does the weather have an impact on Bigfoot if he wants to come out or not?
No. And I say that solely on where I live, and we do this year round. We do this in level 3 snowstorms, and we do this in 90-degree, 100% humidity. They're out. So, you know, elevation. Now, you want to talk elevation changes. It does between winter and summer. They're lower in the summer. They're higher in the winters. And I'm speaking Ohio. We have found elevation change, but their activities stay the same. They're out all year round. So,
Larry, if you got a question.
Yep. Mr. Lee 3PO asked, are the structures anything to do with the alignment of stars? That's more of a Kane question there, ain't it?
Yeah.
yeah, that's yeah. Yeah. No, we looked at it, and there's a couple structures that we have. When you bring up stars and aligning, they align.
Yeah.
I can't explain it. That you're exactly right, Larry. That is a Kane question.
He
He
loves
goes-
that stuff.
He goes down that rabbit hole, and I stand at the top with the rope. But yeah, like I said, we have a couple structures that do, and we have looked at that, not deep. We haven't dove deep into it, but we've looked at it, and yeah, there's a couple.
Well, if it's navigation, it kind of makes sense because the old naval people from a long
Right.
time ago used the stars to navigate. So
Right.
it
Right.
would kind of make sense.
Right.
Okay, I can catch this one on the run here. Okay, Jay Cappy asked, have you all tried dowsing rods? I've had luck with that. Got yes and no answers, etc. In Ohio too. Not Salt Fork. However, I bet that Kane Michaels had a dowsing rod or two.
Oh, I'd like to take his dowsing rods and put them somewhere. Well, I'm sorry. Who asked that question?
Jay Cappy.
Cappy?
Yes.
It's a lady from Ohio.
Oh, okay. An Ohioan, right on. Go Bucks. Yeah. SEC sucks. Kane has used dowsing rods more so on my end, asking it if I'm going to get eaten or something. But he's also used them to ask certain questions. And once again, I can't explain what had happened, but we had some interaction during that course,
Yeah.
We've only done it a few times, and a couple of those times he's asked certain questions, and we've had strange things happen. That's about all I can say with it.
I know we've had on Jeff Yellick, and he's used them out in the field and had some success with them too. Don't
Now,
tell Kane though.
I will say that one of them, though, the one time he asked a couple questions is when we ran into what we believe was we got hit with help me out.
Infrasound.
Yes, yeah. What we believe to be infrasound. And that was like maybe 15, 20 minutes after he had used the dowsing rods. So I will say there's something there. There's something there with them.
Yeah. Well, if they have an energy that will kill batteries and stuff like that, it may be picking up on that energy. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Just speculation.
Okay.
So
CD,
orbs.
yeah. Do you think they're related to Bigfoot? Have you?
I at this time, no, I don't. And that's just so let me explain. We've had interaction at night. We've had an interaction. Soon after, Kane and I both witnessed orbs. The only way to explain it are orbs. Are they related? I don't know. I don't know. But we have witnessed this. We have seen it. It's very odd. It's very strange. Are they related? I don't know. When you put one there and then another one shows up, you kind of, but I'm just not there yet. I'd have to look at it and dig deeper into it, really, for me personally.
Okay, Tony from Fishing, Gaming, and Guitars asked, do you think they are a type of people?
Yes, I do.
And that goes back to your encounter.
Exactly. I honestly thought that they were nothing but a big ape until my encounter. And once I saw it and I saw the features of it, I do somewhere, like I said, somewhere on that big tree, we kind of jumped onto the same branch together and had a good time.
Okay, Michael will be a candidate for that, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That joker would put on a yellow afro and a heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
Jump up on that tree.
He'd be hitting all kinds of branches.
Oh,
Okay, Donald Lyons asked, do y'all ever see them in cities or getting close to cities?
Well, I mean, I don't know what's close, but I haven't personally, but I know of people. I know people personally that have had, encounters very close. I mean, we're in the suburbs. You guys have been to my home, and we're in the suburbs. We're on the east side of Columbus, Ohio. So, and this is kind of the same setting where they live. But like right outside of their town is just woods. I mean, just, but they've had very close town encounters. I haven't personally, but I know people that have had it.
Okay, Tom Paul asked, have you got any thoughts on if they go underground?
Tom, I love you, buddy. Yeah, I do. So one thing that I've been doing for quite some time, and I wish I had my maps up. Actually, no. So I've been looking at Ohio, and I've been looking at abandoned coal mines in Ohio. And one thing that got me started on this was the scent, the smell. Everybody claims the rotten smell. And I started thinking about that. And Kane kind of was one like, hey, stupid, what do we deal with? We deal, in our trade and construction, you're smelling fumes all the time. What's one thing that causes a rotten egg, nasty smell? Sulfur, And then I started thinking, I was like, sulfur, where would sulfur come from? And it would come from caves. It would come from certain caves. It would come from old coal mines, So I started looking at old coal mines, abandoned coal mines. I started pulling up old maps of Ohio, and the southeastern portion of Ohio is just one big friggin' travel it just gobbled up with old coal mines and tunnels and Salt Fork. Nothing but strip mines underneath it, nothing but coal mines underneath it from years and years and years ago. So that's one thing that I've been looking at for probably, I don't know, 4 years now. I think they go underground. I really do.
Larry, have you got a question?
well, I did. I got off that page.
Ivy Vines asked,
Ivy Vines?
That's
from the Batman.
Ask, do any of y'all gentlemen believe that there are any other cryptic creatures that may be out in the forest or woods that we were not raised to have any knowledge of? And I know that you did an interview with someone and went and looked at the area, and it did not look like it was a Bigfoot. I don't know whether you want to elaborate on that or not.
Yeah, so I don't journey into this realm of Dogman. I'm fascinated by it. I can't say that they're real. I can't say that they're not. I went on an interview with a guy on the far west side, way out west of Ohio, almost the Indiana border. And he wasn't able to make it. He had to work, but he gave me, told me the location and all that jazz. So Kane and I go out there and we find he had seen something from the road walking into a tree line, coming out of a field, going into a tree line, bipedal, deer over the shoulder, looked like a dog, looked like a canine. That's what this guy told me. Gave me the location, gave me the area. We go out there, we find this area is landlocked. Completely around this area, you cannot seal tight. You cannot get into it. Pull down this old gravel road to a dead end. There's a farm at the very end of it. There's a guy there at the end of the road. He's got beehives. He's keeping to his bees. I get out of the truck. I'm talking to him. Hey, can we get over into this area? He says, no, can't get into that area. Okay. So we leave, we circle the area, can't get in, come back, get out of the truck, ask the guy again, look, can we walk the creek in the stream and get up? He said, no, you can't walk the stream. I said, what do you mean you can't walk the stream? He said, well, the guy that owns that property bought the creek, bought the rights to that section of the creek. I said, you can't do that. I said, that's owned by the state. You can't buy a creek. He was like, well, this guy did. So we leave again. We're pulling out this old dirt road at the other end of this dirt road where you pull out, there's an old school bus. Old hermit lives in the school bus. He's outside of the school bus. I tell Kane, I was like, that's who we need to talk to. That guy right there knows everything about this area. So we get out, we're talking to this guy, and we asked him, what's up with this area over here? Can't seem to get into it. He said, you don't want to go in there. Bad things happen when people go in there. It's his exact words to me. I said, what do you mean bad things happen? He said, well, there was a boy that went up in there and he got killed. And I said, yeah, the guy down there said they got hit by a train. The hermit kind of chuckled and he said, no, he didn't. He said he was mutilated. I said, really? He said, yeah. And he said the train tracks run the opposite direction of that property. It doesn't even go through that property. I said, okay. Come to find out, the guy down keeping the bees is an old DNR officer who owns that property that doesn't want anybody in there. So once Kane and I realized we weren't going to get into this area, we started scouting around, looking around for other places to go. We find this little state park. We get into the state park. We go hiking, traipsing up through the state park. We get up on top of this ridge, really dense, thick briar, nasty briar, trying to push our way through it. And all of a sudden we find this hole, this tunnel that goes through it. Can't get through this anywhere else. So we make our way through this tunnel and it literally opens up into a flat area of pine. You're in a pine grove littered with these prints everywhere. I couldn't even tell you how many prints there were. About this big around to this big around, canine prints with a narrow, center part of the foot and then the ball on the back. And they were everywhere. And they ranged from this, this size to, huge. Huh. And anywhere from 2.5 inch round at the ball with the claw marks to like 6.5 inches round with big ass, paw claws.
Yeah.
So I believe there is. There's something out there. Is it Dogman? Is it something else? I don't know. Like I said, I haven't really journeyed into that realm, but I believe that there is something else out there. Yes.
Man,
I don't want to be thrown into that realm either.
No. We are out of time, but there's 2 questions that I want to ask.
There's the last one. Yeah, that's the one.
And this one from Crow Creek Cryptids. Has Mathias experienced lost time while in the field?
Go back to the infrasound, whatever the heck it is. So that day, we traipsed through this area. I damn near pass out. And we go through this area twice. We circle around. I come out of the area. I get my senses back. My equilibrium comes back. Everything comes back. We circle around. Kane talks me into going back through the area again, and I do. The second time I go through, I drop. I hit the ground, man. Equilibrium goes, everything goes. I drop. Get myself out of there. Literally crawl out of the area. Kane is shot. Kane's gone. He's laid out. When we get out of that area, we're on the side of a ridge, and I look over and he's gone. He's on his back, passed out. Nothing. So finally we get ourselves together. We get back to the house. I start going through the film and the footage. I start shooting him footage of that day. And this is like 3 days later. I start shooting him footage. And he's like, when did we do this? When did we go to this ridge? Because we know this area. He's like, when did we ever go up there? When did we do this? When did we do that? And I had no recollection of time at all. I was missing an hour and a half that I can't account for by watching the videos that I cannot account for. An hour and a half gone. Plain and simple. Gone. So
that's one thing that I don't want to happen to me. Because if you don't have your senses, I mean, that's a scary thing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I had no clue. I mean, nothing. The whole ride home. Usually Kane and I, we get in the truck, man, we're all the way home. Just brainstorming, talking about the day and this and that, and what we're going to do next. The whole ride home, total silence. Didn't say one word to each other all the way home.
Wow.
We weren't there. We just were not there.
Okay. Our last question is from Shelley. And she would like for you to describe the face of the creature that you saw.
Very, the skin was very tight, very leathered, brown in color, like a Middle Eastern tint. Very predominant facial features. Very human, like very native in the structure. Very native in the structure. Let me see if I can do this real quick.
He's still wearing shorts.
Still wearing
And
shorts.
we're glad.
So, that's what I saw.
Yeah.
So, very, a lot of human in it, man. But very tight. The hair was very shiny. It was a no cloud in the sky day, sun right above us, beating down. The hair was just shining from the sun. The skin was, like I said, was extremely tight, leathered looking. The tan, the brown, the Middle Eastern color, and then a lot of native, a lot of native facial features in it. So,
and you said his facial expression was human, like he was surprised when he
his eyes, his head went back, his eyes went up, and he had that look like, oh crap.
Yeah.
You guys haven't left yet. Yeah, you guys are supposed to be gone, man.
Yeah.
So, and I love you, Shelley. to death.
Well, we are absolutely out of time. I cannot believe how fast this 2 hours has gone by. But thus, we would like to give you this opportunity to leave any final thoughts, advice, or anything else with our audience.
Just when you're out there, just be out there for you, and be out there for the moment and enjoy the nature and enjoy where you're at, yeah, just do it for you, and when it comes to the research, do your diligence, take the time, document everything you possibly can, get it all together, and put it away, but make sure you're documenting, make sure you're collecting that data. And I'm telling you, eventually you're going to see things starting to come together, and things in different areas are going to start, being put in place with one another, correlation, and you're going to start building something, and it's very exciting. But don't let it consume you either. Don't let it, because it will. This realm will consume you, and make sure you live your life as well. But enjoy it while you're out there. Just enjoy it. It's God's gift to us, is nature. So enjoy it.
That's great advice. Larry, have you got any final thoughts?
My final thoughts is, Eric, I'm trying to get back in shape so we can hit it again at some point. I do have a different job now where it's easier for me to get off. So that's a plus too.
Right on, brother. Right on.
It's with the same company, but just a different department.
That's okay. It's okay, buddy.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the Blaylax and Livewire for their gifts of love. And I just want to say it will be a happy day when we get back out in the woods and share a campfire together. And
yes, it will.
I know that's around the corner, and I cannot wait. The camaraderie that we all have out there and the teamwork that we have, it's I wish everybody could experience that. Because it's just good friends and good times.
Yeah.
And Mathias, I'd like to ask for you to hang on while we play our outro, and we'll throw you backstage. And
Mark, before you play an outro, you sounded like a televangelist with that gift of love thing.
with the happy juice. Drink the happy juice. Cheers, my friends.
Okay. All right. Well, we want to thank everybody that watches this and comes in the chat, and y'all are family. And with that, we'll say night, night, footers. Beast TV would like to welcome all of our new Facebook members. Be sure to check out our pictures and videos of possible evidence. And if you haven't checked out the Files tab, there is a wealth of information that you may find beneficial. If you would like to support Beast TV, check out our gear. We have coffee mugs, face masks, gaiters, shirts, and tank tops. The link is pinned at the top of the comment section. Everything is always marked down 20%. So come check out our junk.
This has been a Sawdust production.